Good evening and welcome to episode number 8 of the Finger Lakes Golfer Podcast on FingerLakes1.com and FingerLakes1.tv. Recorded live on Monday evening, August 4th, 2014. I'm your host, Jim Sinacropi, and once again I'm joined up here in the FingerLakes1.com studios by my co-host, the Big Easy, Bob LaPrade.
Good evening, Jim.
Welcome back, Bob, and thanks for making the trek up here to the studio tonight. Another good league night for you. Even par, 9 holes.
Yeah.
The rain stayed away from Old Seneca Falls.
That was the best part.
Yeah.
That was the best part.
Probably wasn't looking that way most of the day.
No, it wasn't.
So, big week on tap, big show on tap this week, I should say. Common rules in golf that the average player may not know.
Mm-hmm.
Is Tiger lying about his back after withdrawing from the Bridgestone this weekend? I think he's lying. I don't think he even hurt his back. But, hey.
It's up for discussion.
We'll talk about that. And how about that Bridgestone tournament, Sergio versus Rory McIlroy?
It was fun.
It was a lot of fun. We'll talk about that. Bob's Pick of the Week. With a new segment intro, by the way, for our segments on the show.
Awesome.
And we'll give you the 8th hole of our Finger Lakes Dream 18 and my Zen Tip of the Week. Who knows what's good or what's bad? So, ton to talk about. Hey, usually we kick off the show kind of talking about how our week went golf-wise, and I played pretty good Sunday. I shot an 80 with 1 bogey.
Wow.
Yeah.
No doubles?
Oh, no, I had 2 doubles.
Oh, you did?
And 1 8, but only 1 bogey.
Right. Hey.
Yeah, I still struggle with my driver. I really struggled with my driver all day, but I ham-negged it around and made a lot of par putts, and but the driver bit me on 16 one last time, as I thought I was going to maybe put together a good round. So I shot 80, which is in my wheelhouse of 78 to 82. That was the 12th straight week on Sunday morning that I'm in that range, and I thought I was going to break through. But and you played pretty well, didn't you?
I did my home 82, and I can't break that mold at the moment. I can't get out of that rut. So and what it's been has been the driver's been letting me down. You know, I get to 13 or 14 somewhere in the latter part of the round, and I hit a poor shot. So
you think that today, after shooting 36 on that 9, if you were to go on and play 9 more, you would have shot another 82 or 80? Or
boy, I would hope so.
You'd hope so, or you'd hope that you shot like a 73?
No, I'm sorry. I would hope it would be much better than what I'm typically doing. And I don't think it's a mental issue that's causing my problem. It's just that errant shot and learning to recover from it.
Yeah, I hear you there. Which actually plays into my Zen Tip this week at the end of the episode. But
nice.
First, I want to talk about some rules. Now, I like to play by the rules.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't, not just because to be a stickler, but just because that's kind of, if you don't play by the rules, you really don't know what you shot. The rules are there for a reason, and golf is such a crazy game played over such a large tract of land that you need all sorts of crazy rules to handle any type of situation that could arise out there in the wild, you know?
Right.
So I really didn't know what we were going to lead off the show with this week until Sunday morning. We came upon my opponent's playing partner's golf ball, and it was laying there on the cart path.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a rule I know, where to drop off a cart path. I was 100% sure of it, but there was some discussion, and I had to say, no, look, I'm 100% sure this is the rule. And it surprised me because that's a common thing that happens. Your ball ends up on a cart path, you got to take a drop. I think most golfers will just grab it, go off to the side and drop it and hit it.
Mm-hmm.
But the rule is, and actually I think I might have wrote it down here someplace, or maybe I didn't. Oh yeah, I didn't write it down because I know it. Your ball's on the cart path. Let's say it's on the dead middle of the cart path. So let's say my hand here's the cart path. And so now you need to determine where the nearest point of relief is. But to take the relief, you need to be clear stance and ball of the cart path. So if your ball's on the middle and you're a right-handed golfer and you want to drop on this side, you first have to take your stance and then determine the nearest point you can drop your ball with your stance being off the cart path. So almost every time, if it's in the middle of the cart path, you'll drop on the left-hand side because the ball can go just off the cart path would be your nearest point because your stance would be on the other side in the grass. And then from that point, once you determine your nearest point, you get a club length distance. And I just have seen this, seen a lot of people that you think would know that golf for years that don't really understand that rule.
Mm-hmm.
And now it becomes obvious then if the ball's in the middle, but usually you have to do a little measuring. If the ball's a little bit, if you're a right-handed golfer and the ball's a little bit off to the right-hand side of the cart path, then your nearest point may be to the right, but you'd have to measure it depending on the size of the cart path and exactly how far right it is. So that's a rule that you know how to follow, right, Bob? The old cart path drop.
Well, the key point you said that you brought up was where your stance is. So if you're a right or left-handed golfer with the ball in the middle of the cart path or leaning to one side or the other, it depends on where your stance.
Where you can take a stance.
Right. That's the important part.
So, I went through and thought of a few other rules of golf that maybe some folks might not know or that commonly break. And, I say I play by the rules. Here, this next one is a rule that I know, but I do break, when I'm out there playing with my my friends. So... Well, actually, it depends on how serious the match is, but do not ask advice from anyone except your partner or caddy, or give advice to anyone other than your partner. 2 strokes in stroke play and lost a whole match play. So you're out there playing, like on Sunday we have a match, two-man best ball, 2 guys against another guy. I could ask my partner anything I wanted. He can help me read greens. He can tell me what club he hit. But if I say to my opponent, what'd you swing there? Mm-hmm. He tells me, then the penalty on me.
Right.
At 2 strokes. And our team would technically lose the hole because we're playing match play there too. But that's one that I don't think I obsess on myself when we're just out playing because it's just kind of, and sometimes, even you're playing a match against your opponent, you like to see him do well. But I guess that would include even just giving advice of like you're walking from one green to the next and you're like, hey, why don't you try chipping with your 8-iron next time instead of your wedge when you're that close? That penalty. Mm-hmm. So were you aware of that rule?
Yeah. And I know there's been some slight changes to that rule in the last few years as far as trying to get distances to a hole. If you're playing a par 3. I think there was some leniency now to where you can ask your opponents
if they have one of those radar.
Right. Yeah, if they have a laser rangefinder or a GPS device.
I think the rule might be, and I'm not sure about this, but I think the rule might be if you have one, you need to share that. If you measure it, you have to announce it.
Really?
Or maybe not announce it, but you have to be willing to share
maybe.
We'll find out for sure next week.
Yeah, that'd be nice to know. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure you can ask, and if they tell you, it's not a penalty. They have the option not to tell you. But
we'll find out for sure for next week. But another rule. During a hole, you may practice swing, but not play a practice stroke. Between holes, you may practice chip or putt on or near the putting green. This is between holes of the last hole you played, or the tee on the next hole, but not from a hazard for whatever reason. That's 2-stroke penalty. Match play, loss a hole if you break that rule. That means that a lot of golfers think you just can't practice out on the course. But once a hole is completed, you can hit a practice putt. It's between holes. Like the rules of golf, basically when you tee off on a hole, the ball's now in play, and it's in play until you putt out. The point from where you putt out to when you reach the next teeing area and put the ball back in play, that's between holes. So during that time, if there's a little slow, you can chip around on the tee. You can hit a putt on the green you just finished.
Is that match play or stroke?
Stroke or match, it says
really?
Here. Yeah.
Wow. Now, if you had asked me, before this, I would have said that was just match. I thought that was just match, but it's good to know.
that you couldn't practice.
Well, match you could, but stroke you could not.
I think well, here I am second guessing myself here, but you can't do it when a hole is in progress, only between holes.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
And of course, you probably wouldn't want to do that if the course was crowded and groups were waiting on you.
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
Now, here's one of the most basic of rules, and it's play the course as you find it. Don't improve your lie, the area of your intended swing, or your line of play by moving, bending, or breaking anything fixed or growing, except in fairly taking your stance or making a stroke. Don't press anything down or build a stance. 2-stroke penalty, match play, loss of hole. And you've seen guys that go into the bushes behind the green and kind of burrow themselves in a little spot. And it's kind of an ambiguous rule. It's kind of difficult because you are allowed to step on things to take your stance, but you can't do anything other outside of what you need to do to take a stance to improve your swing path or your lie.
Like
well, obviously not your lie.
Step on a sapling that may be in the way of your swing.
Yeah, let's say that behind you there's a tall weed.
Mm-hmm.
And in the course of taking your stance, you kind of drag your foot over it, so now you're stepping it down or something. That's illegal, obviously. And also, a lot of people from the fairway, even if your ball's sitting there, you can't like tamp the grass down behind it with your foot.
Right.
I've seen people do that.
Mm-hmm.
That falls under a violation of this rule I'm talking about here. The other wordage in here is bending or breaking anything. You can't break anything that's fixed or growing, except in fairly taking your stance. So how about this one? A ball touching the water hazard line is deemed in the hazard if it's just touching the line. Now this is sometimes a real line that gets spray painted around the hazard.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's an imaginary line between the two nearest posts of a hazard.
Which can be difficult to determine.
Right, but if it's just touching it, you're in the hazard, which means you can't ground the club. Here's one that I've seen people violate. Do not touch the line of your putt. Unless a rule permits, which would be 16-1, 7 exceptions to that rule, you may repair ball marks and even old hole plugs on your line, but not spike marks, which we don't see many spike marks, the old classic spike marks when there used to be metal spikes. Did you play back in the day of metal spikes?
No.
So you were always a soft spike guy since you started playing golf?
Yes.
It was weird walking on the asphalt in the metal spikes, and you would even look at the parking lot where people most trafficked and it was all spiked up,
Right.
So, but they did... late in the day, there'd be lots of spike marks, and Seneca Falls Country Club had a local rule that you could tap down spike marks.
Oh, okay.
But so unless it's a ball mark or an old hole plug or an old ball mark, that wasn't repaired properly.
But every once in a while, it'll come across where someone kind of dragged their foot inadvertently.
Yeah, can't tap that down.
Right.
Can't tap that down. The reason being, I suppose, because then you could just tamp down everything. You could tamp down your whole line. Make a little trough. A lot of people don't play the unplayable lie rule correctly. So you may declare your ball unplayable at any place on the course except when a ball is in a water hazard. So you are the sole judge as to whether your ball is unplayable. Now, you can call anything an unplayable lie. It doesn't have to actually be unplayable. You could be sitting in the middle of the fairway and say, this is an unplayable lie. I'm going to take a drop. Take 2 club links to the right, drop it, take 1-stroke penalty. Don't see that happening, but you could. So you have 3 options when you play an unplayable lie. Option number 1, play a ball at the spot from which the original was last played. So you go back to where you played your last shot, you hit it again. That's option 1. Option 2. Drop a ball within 2 club lengths of the spot where the ball lay, but not near the hole. So anywhere 2 club lengths from the spot the ball is, you can take a drop, not near the hole. And the thing about the unplayable lie that some people don't realize either is sometimes 2 club lengths just isn't enough.
Right, yeah.
you're in the woods and you want to take an unplayable lie, and you think you're going to get back out into have a clear shot on your next shot after taking the penalty, and it doesn't happen. So 2 club lengths. And 3, drop a ball behind the point where the ball lay. This is the one that a lot of people don't know. Keeping that point directly between the hole and the spot which the ball is dropped. No limit. You can go as far as you want.
But sometimes that's not enough.
Right. Like if you're in the right woods and there's nothing but woods further right and the hole's to the left, you can go back as far as you want. You're still going to be out of bounds.
Right.
So if the ball is in a bunker and you elect to use option 2 or 3, a ball must still be dropped in the bunker. You can't take 2 club lengths and be out of the bunker. So that's the unplayable lie. And, of course, when you drop, you extend your arm straight and drop the ball. In the old days, Bob, and this is another little thing that came after you started the game, and I barely caught it when I was a kid, but you used to drop the golf ball over your back.
Right, yeah.
Like that,
yeah,
which is crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. That's what we did, over the back. And in a way, it's probably the best way to make sure you're not trying to, but you know as well as
the ball.
Yeah, but you know as well as I, if you extend it straight out and drop it, that you can't really control.
Well, in the wintertime, I practice that. I do about 50 drops a day.
Spin it different ways. Try to get a soft landing. You are better off at being able to pick the exact spot you want it to land, though.
Right.
But than the old days when you dropped it over your back.
I wonder why they went away from that.
It seems to me that it could hit your foot on the way down, maybe, or I don't know. It just
drop it in your pocket.
Yeah, maybe that happened. Maybe that happened. Okay, here's another rule: clubs may not be altered in any way once play has begun. If a club is altered during the normal course of play, such as bending it after hitting a tree while attempting to hit the ball, the club may be taken to the shop for immediate repair and replacement. Hold up, guys. I'm going to go get this shaft reshafted.
Right.
Or a replacement club may be used until the original club is repaired. If the club is modified outside the normal course of play, however, such as breaking or bending it in a fit of anger, it must be taken out of play for the remainder of the match.
Right. Yep.
Should it be used again, the penalty is disqualification, whether match or stroke play.
Sure.
So you can take... If you break your club while playing a shot normally, you can replace it. I mean, you can straight up go into the pro shop and grab another one. You can go to your car, get another club.
Well, I have a situation that is applicable to that. Is I have a 3-wood that likes to loosen up during the round. It has the screw on the bottom. It's an adjustable club.
Right.
And I'm permitted to tighten that screw during the round because it'll loosen, and I don't know if it's a defective screw or the club head is, but it'll happen where you can take the head and you can move it a few degrees,
and you're permitted to do that,
right?
Because it's coming loose during the normal course of play,
right?
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Well, I mean, that's what I believe the rule is. I mean, I haven't been told different.
We might have to add 2 strokes to every single one of your scores this year.
Well, I've conferred with my playing partners, and they believe that to be true as well. But, I mean, it's the screw is loosening up during play. I mean, wouldn't you think I could?
Yeah, normal course of play.
Right, yeah. It's not it's not like I've loosened it through anger.
Hey, Bob, how many people do not know how to properly play after their ball's gone in a water hazard? There's 2 types of hazard, yellow and red stakes.
Right, yeah, that can be confusing.
Mostly red stakes nowadays because it's faster for play. And so if you hit it into a water hazard with yellow stakes, your options are to play the ball where it lies without penalty. So if you find it in the water hazard, you can play it. Just can't ground your club. Option 2 would be to drop the ball behind the hazard along a line formed by the hole in the point where the ball entered the hazard. 1-stroke penalty. Or 3, use the stroke and distance option and play your next stroke from the spot where the ball was originally struck.
Yes.
That's a yellow water hazard, or vertical hazard as it's called. Red stakes, lateral hazard, a little less penal. And you can then play the ball where it lies without penalty, just like the other one if you find it and it's playable in the hazard. Drop a ball behind the hazard along a line formed by the hole in the point of entry. In the hazard, 1-stroke penalty.
Mm-hmm.
Invoke the stroke and distance rule and take the next stroke from the original lie, so you can go back and hit it from where it went again. And this is the one that most people use, and that's drop within 2 club lengths of the point of entry, no nearer to the hole. 1-stroke penalty, obviously. There's a 5th option, though, Bob.
Yes.
That I don't think that a lot of people know. And that is you can drop within 2 club lengths of a point no nearer to the hole on the other side of the lateral hazard. So I don't know if I've ever done that in my life, but maybe you play a certain course where that could be beneficial, where you would go to the other side of the hazard, no closer to the hole, and go 2 club lengths from the point of entry opposite.
I'm sure there's some holes where that would be advantageous.
Yeah, I imagine. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but maybe like a certain distance. Maybe there's trees, not going to be trees in the way if you do that.
Right.
Maybe depending on where the pin location is.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So that's lateral hazards. Hey, here's another one, Bob, that a lot of people ask, and that's concerning ball markers. The official rules state, under Rule 20-1, lifting and marking, and it's included in Rule 20-1 as a statement that the position of the ball must be marked before it is lifted. And then it goes on to say the position of a ball to be lifted should be marked by placing a ball marker, a small coin, or other similar object immediately behind the ball. If the ball marker interferes with play, stance, or stroke of another player, it should be placed 1 or more club heads, blah, 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 blah. And then there's been decisions to Rule 20-1 that are applicable because that is an ambiguous rule about ball marks.
Oh, I agree.
Yes, and honestly, you can use anything.
I've seen people use some really weird stuff. It looks like belt buckles.
So like gigantic.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, in the rules of golf, there's some decisions that get published too, because the rules are so complex. And in a decision regarding this rule, 20-116, it responds to the question, is a player penalized if he uses an object that is not similar to a ball marker or a small coin to mark the position of the ball? And the answer is no. And the decision states that the provision in the note to Rule 20-1 is a recommendation of best practice, but there is no penalty for failing to act in accordance. The decision also offers several examples of unorthodox ways to mark a ball on the green, each of which is fine, although none conform with the note to Rule 20-1. So here's one that's going to blow your mind. Placing the toe of a club at the side of or behind the ball is a legal way to mark your ball.
Wow, I've seen that done, but I
do it all the time.
I never thought it was legal.
I necessarily didn't either. I just, when you're out there playing with your pals and I'm putting the ball exactly back where it was, and so, if you're relining up your ball, you just put your toe down. But that is legal. You can do that.
That's really good to know.
Using a tee is legal, although a lot of people said that it wasn't.
Right.
A lot of people say it isn't because you're testing the condition or something, but no, you can use a tee. Or maybe you can't push it in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
You can use a loose impediment. You can grab a little stick that's sitting on the green and use that. You're not going to get penalized. All these methods go against the recommendation to Rule 20-1. And, honestly, let's try to use something small and flat and round, such as a coin. But you could really mark your ball with just about anything you wanted. So, Bob, there is a bunch of rules that I think that average golfers might be unclear on. I mean, I'm talking guys that play a lot of golf.
Right. We have a viewer who just texted in about one of the rules.
Oh, yeah?
Yep. And they're talking about lateral hazards. The 5th option in the lateral must be equal distance to the hole.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go. Is that from PJ Professional that's watching the show?
Yes,
I think it is.
Yes, it is.
Who we should have had him on the show.
Yeah, that would have been a perfect time.
I actually wanted him on for the show about layup shots.
Right.
Because he's a big proponent of course. He's a good course management guy for sure.
Agree.
Maybe next week. But we really should have had him on here with the rules because all these things that we're saying, like I'm not sure he would know.
Right. Well, it's very easy to misinterpret these rules and
Sure.
Play them incorrectly.
Well, that's enough about the rules tonight. Let's.
I really enjoyed marking the ball. That was a good one. I've seen a lot of guys mark their ball with a toe of their putter.
Yep.
And thought, that's okay.
If it was in the club championship, then maybe you wouldn't see it done.
Well,
but you're thinking,
if you're playing match play and you want to get a rise out of somebody, you might
do
it.
Right? Then pull out the old rules, decisions on the rules of golf, and flip open. It's like a 50,000 page gigantic book.
Mark it with the grip end, right?
Yeah, really getting your opponent's head.
Right. Yeah.
Well, Bob, I mentioned we got some new segments, and the first one off the bat is Bobby's Pick of the Week.
Okay.
Bobby's Pick of the Week.
Nice one.
Now, Bobby's Pick of the Week can be a product, a app, or a tip. And this week, for the first time, it's an actual tip. Right? You got a tip for everybody. And it involves putting and your eyeballs.
Yes.
Okay. Fill us in.
Well, it basically has to do with your dominant eye when you're at address and you're lining up your putts. And what it means is, how you look at your line of your putt. If you're right eye dominant. And everybody's seen the trick where you hold the circle out in front of you that you make with your hands, and you look through that circle, and then you look with your right and your left eye, and whatever one moves will tell you which eye is your dominant eye.
They both move.
No.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow, that's
crazy.
crazy.
One should move.
A little optometry here tonight.
Yeah. So what you want to do is make sure that your dominant eye has a look at your line of the putt. Otherwise, if you're just looking at it with your left eye and your right eye dominant, that line will not be actually where it's at. So I kind of want to read this paragraph to you to give you a better idea of what we're talking about. So most right-hand golfers are right eye dominant. Learn what that means. It means if you perfectly square up to putt the ball, as almost all books tell you to do, you are looking at the hole where it is, but to the right of where it actually is. And when you putt, you are not putting it where the hole really is, but where you're seeing it with your left eye.
Yeah.
Which makes it so you're going to putt it offline.
Should you blink with your left eye?
Well, no, I don't think you need to squint. You're talking about squint.
No, just close the left eye. Only look with the one eye.
Well, maybe. I don't know if that would help, but
I have this problem over the putts. I know that where I think the hole is, it isn't. So I got to trust my mark. But that just leads to a whole slew of issues.
One thing you can do is open your stance slightly, even if you don't want to putt that way, and get a good look at it with your dominant eye included in the picture.
When I struggle putting, I like to open up the stance, and that might be why.
No, I notice you do that.
Because I can see the line better and see the hole.
Right.
Even though it's not the most square way to make a putt, it's nice to be able to see.
But even if you don't like to putt with an open stance, initially real quick, take an open stance, take a look at it, and let your right eye be included in the process. It might give you a little bit better look at the hole and the line. And that's what that's all about.
So when you lit it up tonight with a putter during league, were you conscious of that? Did you?
No.
That was your pick of the week, and you weren't even thinking of it out there?
You know what? I had no swing thoughts tonight. I just went out and hit the ball. I had good company. It was a great night.
That's the way to do it. You don't want swing thoughts when you're out on the course.
No, you don't.
So, there you go. Bob's pick of the week. This week it was a tip. And moving on here to the news of the week. The WGC Bridgestone tournament at Firestone in Ohio yesterday.
Yep.
I kind of followed the leaderboard the first 3 days, but didn't turn on. For majors, Wednesday through Monday morning, I'm on the Golf Channel.
Mm-hmm.
These tournaments are great.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, I just followed the leaderboard. And then on Sunday, we had a little rain here locally. So instead of doing any lawn mowing or any other yard work, I found myself sitting inside the house, turned on the TV to CBS, and there's Sergio and Rory about to tee off. I'm like, this is awesome. And then right ahead of them, Justin Rose and Adam Scott. And yeah, I watched the whole thing, and it was fantastic to watch. And, Rory's legit. I mean, do you think Rory McIlroy could be about to make a Tiger-like run for the next 5-10 years?
For sure. Why couldn't he? I mean, he's hitting the ball so great. I personally was rooting for Sergio on Sunday. I wanted to see him win, but Rory was just flawless. Just flawless. He hit the ball great, and for a guy his size to hit the ball so far it's unbelievable.
And it got in Sergio's head, and Sergio, Rory goes birdie, 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 birdie. First 4 holes, Sergio's lead's gone. Then Sergio starts spraying the driver, probably trying to keep up with him. Mm-hmm. And I'm starting to become more of a Sergio fan. I'm kind of rooting for him. I wouldn't mind seeing him win the PGA this week or win at Augusta, which I think he'll do eventually. He's only 34 years old. But, yeah, I mean, it's clear twice in a row now he just got mowed down by Rory McIlroy.
Right.
And when he was in position to win major, big tournaments. And, even at the end, it was the same thing as at the British Open. Was he had opportunity to make putts down the stretch that would have put pressure on him. Even on 17, he had to putt to pull within 1 going into 18, put a little pressure on McIlroy, and he just misses him.
Yeah.
And he's, by all accounts, a great putter, but I just watched 2 final rounds where I saw this guy miss a lot of putts that he could. I mean, not 5-foot putts, he's not missing short putts, but he's got 15, 20, 25-foot putts that if he makes, put some pressure on McIlroy, and 2 big tournaments in a row, I see him come up empty.
Absolutely. One thing I was also rooting for in that tournament coming down the stretch is, hoping Adam Scott and Justin Rose would kind of get into it and make it a little bit more interesting, but never happened. I mean, it's McIlroy is just playing so well right now. It's not funny.
And where's the American golfers? Rose, Scott, McIlroy, Garcia. I mean, non-American in the bunch. And when have you ever, other than maybe Gary Player, had a guy like McIlroy who is poised to be as dominant as like a Tiger Woods or a Jack Nicklaus or an Arnold Palmer?
Right.
And, Ryder Cup coming up. It's, Yeah,
it doesn't look good for the Ryder Cup team at the moment. Bradley made a little noise early, but, there wasn't a lot of Americans in the mix there.
Now, one guy who was hoping to make the Ryder Cup team, hoping to be a captain's choice at Tom Watson, was Tiger Woods. But that's looking less likely now, Bob, wouldn't you say?
He should absolutely not be a captain's pick. Absolutely not.
Now, when I'm watching...
Even without the back injury.
Oh, yeah, I agree. But I'm watching all these players, Bubba Watson, Phil Mickelson, Nick Faldo on the coverage, and Jim Nantz, and the folks on ESPN, SportsCenter talking about this. And to me, it's almost like they're tongue-in-cheek, like they're just saying what they think they should say, but in the back of their mind, they're thinking, he's a quitter. His back didn't hurt. He walked off the course like a big baby.
Mm-hmm.
He said he jammed it on the second hole when he was in that bunker.
Mm-hmm.
To me, watching that replay, he didn't seem to jam anything.
Right. Yeah, if you look at the replay, it looks like there was no wincing, there was no pain.
He immediately started jogging to see where the ball went, which if you jar your back and you just had back surgery, the last thing you're going to be doing is taking a quick jog up the fairway.
Right.
And,
yeah.
And this is a guy who won the U.S. Open on a broken leg. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So... there really wasn't questions of his toughness, the old Tiger, but the new Tiger apparently doesn't have that type of toughness, and he quit. And when he first hit it seemed like he grabbed his knee first, like maybe he was going to say his knee hurt, but then decided his back. I don't know about that, but I just watching him play through that stretch of terrible golf where he hit shots that you or I would be disgusted if we hit them.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely disgusted. He hit shots that the 15 handicapper slams his club into the ground after hitting.
Right.
And no grabbing of the back, no wincing on the face, and then all of a sudden on 9, after he hit his, another terrible shot with tee shot, he called it quits. Which, in golf, you lose a lot of respect, I think, when you WD like that. And I just kind of wish someone would come out and say it. Hey, I don't think Tiger was really hurt. I think it was more that he just quit. But nobody will say that.
No.
You have to come to the Finger Lakes Golf podcast, Finger Lakes Golfer podcast, to get that type of hard-hitting analysis of Tiger.
No, I agree. And, the challenge is out to Tiger. Let's sit down and talk about it. Come to Seneca Falls.
Or call in. Skype in.
He can call in, Skype in, whatever. Let's talk about it. Because he hit that bunker and there was not any wincing. And he said that's where it happened.
So he jarred it or jammed it. Say jammed it was the word he used.
Yeah. Well, he went home quick.
So the PGA Championship, the question is, Tiger going to play in the PGA Championship? And, I don't think so. I don't think he wants to put himself up to that type of scrutiny. But
well, you know what? If he didn't hurt it, he should be there.
Right. But I think it was more his feelings were hurt, not his back.
Well, I hurt my feelings almost every Sunday.
And I think Tiger's done. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I just don't see him winning another
good,
major.
Does it? No.
And I think part of it is he lifts too many weights. That seemed to have a detriment. The bigger he got, the worse his game got.
Mm-hmm.
The putting's not as good. His father died, which I think a lot of people underestimate maybe the impact that had on him. Tiger's kind of a loner guy. He doesn't have a lot of friends on tour, or he doesn't seem to have any buddies. So his dad he could go to for advice, and so I think that had an impact on him. And these injuries obviously are having an impact too, but. When's it going to end? He's been injured, it seems, ever since he started playing bad. It's been, injuries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he keep changing his swing, He kept changing. He was the best player in the world. He wanted to change his swing.
Right.
I bet you couldn't even go back to his old swing now. It's gone.
I think he'd be successful if he just got rid of all these swing guys.
Yeah.
And just go out and hit it.
Just go play your own game.
Play.
Yeah.
Just play. Just hit it.
I think he's too messed up in the head for that. But how about the PGA? Who do you like this week? I'll give you my pick right now.
Let's hear
I'm going to give you 2 picks.
Let's hear it.
The first pick, usually the PGA is someone under the radar. It might win their major and then never win another major again, like a Sean McKeel type of guy.
Yep.
So I'm going to go with Boo Weekley.
Boo Weekley. Wow. Yeah. Okay.
He played on the Ryder Cup team when it was at Valhalla, and he won all his matches. And he actually hasn't been playing too good this year. But sometimes you get to that old course, where you've had success before, and good things start happening. Sure, I could say Rory, or Jordan Spieth, or McIlroy, or Adam Scott.
Right.
But I'm not. I'm going to say Boo Weekley. That's my pick, Bob.
Wow. You went out on a limb. I wasn't going to do that. I was going to be safe.
Who do you think's going to win?
Well, I'd like to hear 2 more for you, because I'd like to pick 3, and let's have you pick 3.
Sergio Garcia, even though I just said all this stuff about him failing, I think that with each one of these things, he's getting a little bit more. It's going to get to the point where he's maybe not going to feel as much pressure, because it's just, he's been down that road before, and the pressure's really off him. It actually might be more on McIlroy at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So he may just, if he just gets a little hot with a putter in a 4th round, he's playing as good as anybody in the world. He was there in the final group at the British Open in the World Golf Championship, 2 of the best fields you can have.
Right.
And he's there in the final group, so you got to pick him, and then you got to pick McIlroy too. You gotta.
Right.
You got other guys like Keimer,
Right. Yeah.
who was playing great, obviously, winning the U.S. Open. But those are my 3. Boo Weekley, Sergio, or Rory.
Those are good ones. Boo Weekly was, I wouldn't have guessed you would have picked him.
Yeah,
But
we'll see how that works out.
Right, well, you never know, right? He may play well.
And your picks are Dustin Johnson, Tiger Woods, and...
No. I like, obviously, McIlroy.
Sure.
I like Engel.
Cabrera?
Mm-hmm.
Well, hey, why not?
He always seems to step it up during the majors.
Mm-hmm.
And I like Furyk.
Wow, going with an old team there.
Yep.
Well, yeah, Furyk, you'd like to think he could win another one. He's another guy who's choked in big situations.
Yeah, but
you know?
he likes to step it up in the majors, and we'll see what happens.
We will, starting Thursday at Valhalla. But one guy we won't see there is Dustin Johnson.
Nope. We'll not see him there.
Suspended for cocaine use.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is an odd thing.
Right, yeah.
You know, and then, of course, his name is Dustin. You know, the word dust is in his name, and he's getting arrested for, suspended for using a powdered drug.
Right, yeah.
But, you know, I'd like to see him back. I was never a big fan of Dustin Johnson. He's phenomenal, obviously, but just never a guy I really rooted for. Most people do. He's one of the Americans we're talking about, though, that needs to hopefully step up.
Right.
All our picks were foreigners. All three. Oh no, you picked Furyk was your one American, and Boo Weekly was my one American. So
right.
Yeah. Yeah. What's going on with the Americans?
I don't know.
Well, let's move off of the PGA Tour and on to the Symetra Tour, the Credit Union Classic held at Drumlins this past week, and featured Veronica Felibert with a 6-under par 65 final round at Drumlins. Takes the tournament $15,000 for her efforts.
Fantastic.
Which, geez, man, it's got to be tough to be on the Symetra Tour. You know, you're doing all the traveling from place to place, and first place wins $15,000.
Yeah.
What does 10th place make? You know, what does 20th place make?
That's a serious journey, women, right?
Yeah, and
Working
then
hard.
the prizes you got in the LPGA Tour, which is struggling purse-wise a little bit, too. I mean, being a woman golfer is tough.
Yeah, for
Tougher
sure.
than a male golfer,
right?
I think, to get it, because if you're going on the mini tours, those purses are better than this.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Geneva High grad Matt DeJohn is now an alumni of Central Connecticut University because he graduated back in May.
Nice.
But he was recently named to the Cleveland Golf Srixon All-American Scholar Team. He shot an average of 75.1 per round this season, and he helped the CCSU Blue Devils golf team in her third-place finish in the Northeast Conference Championship Tournament. So congratulations, man, on being named to the All-American Scholar Team. Some area hole-in-ones. Kurt Vredenberg on July 25th aced the 17th hole, 125-yard par 3 at Beaver Meadows using a 9-iron. Bob D'Amico used an 8-iron to ace the 175-yard 17th at Geneva Country Club, 17th/8th. Love that hole.
Yeah.
You know, that's one that I think I want to put on the Finger Lakes Dream 18, maybe for 17, but who knows, a lot of competition.
Yeah.
For 17. Bob Fulton aced the 156-yard 16th hole at Clifton Springs Country Club using a 7-wood. You carry a 7-wood, Bob?
No.
Tim Mahoney aced the 140-yard 8th on Victor Hills Country Club's North Course using a 9-iron. And Mark Peak used a 5-iron to score a hole-in-one on the 196-yard 4th hole at Clifton Springs. Send us your hole-in-ones. Contact at fingerlakes1.com. Subject line, Finger Lakes Golfer. Good time now to tell you, too, to connect with us on YouTube. Hit subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button right there.
Somewhere around there.
Hit it. It's red. If you're not watching us on YouTube, of course, you can go to iTunes and subscribe on iTunes to our podcast, and we're on Stitcher.com. And all our episodes are featured on FingerLakes1.com and FingerLakes1.tv, or you can take yourself directly to podcast.fingerlakes1.com/FLXGolfer. Lots of ways to connect. August is here. lot of tournaments around the region. Just want to fill you in on a few, starting with one on Wednesday, the Francis Ben Bonifiglia Happiness House Tournament at Seneca Falls Country Club. It's a 6-person scramble, Bob. A 6-person scramble.
It's awesome.
Is it?
Yeah.
6-person
I've never been in a 6-man scramble. I mean, you got to have some low scores, right?
I suppose anything less than a birdie on any hole is a huge failure.
Right, yeah.
6-person scramble.
Yeah.
Well, imagine figuring out the order. You know, you go first, I'll go second. Now, what about putts? I'll go third on putts, you go fifth on putts. And oh, man, 6-person scramble.
Right.
The Ralph Sheridan Classic's coming up on August 7th. It's a 4-person scramble at Bristol Harbor Resort in Canandaigua. And the second,
it's a great course.
It is. Love Bristol. Great views. Like to play it early autumn.
Mm-hmm.
Second Chance Dog Rescue Tournament is at Silver Creek on August 9th. It's a 1 o'clock shotgun start. And there's more information at secondchancedogrescue.com. Proceeds go towards vetting rescued dogs. June Bell Memorial Tournament at Crooked Pines in Macedon. It's a 4-person scramble on August 16th, 9 a.m. start. The Rockstein Memorial at Silver Creek is August 23rd. That's a 1 o'clock shotgun start. 4-person scramble, $75 per person or $300 per team. And it's a fun time for a great guy. Proceeds go to cancer research and a scholarship fund at Waterloo. And the Joseph Babb Memorial Tournament, August 30th, 11 a.m. shotgun at Reservoir Creek Golf Course in Naples. Ever play Reservoir Creek?
I don't think so.
Me neither, but maybe we'll take a road trip.
Yeah, sounds good.
And speaking of road trips to other courses, let's take a virtual road trip to the number 8th hole of the Finger Lakes Dream 18. And the 8th hole of the Finger Lakes Dream 18 takes us to Auburn, New York, and Highland Park Golf Club. It's a 508-yard par 5 slight dogleg right. And I love it. It's a great hole.
It is a good hole.
It's a par 5, 8th hole. We're almost rounding out the front 9. And let me pull up a little image of it there for you now. That's the green side. Reachable hole, but as you can see, there's water in front, except for that little land bridge. Although there's some rocks in there, it's not like 100%. You know, you can't just roll it through there. Of course, you'd really have to be confident in your accuracy to try to roll one through that gap.
Right.
But it's fun, risk-reward hole, and it's in a nice part of the course. And of course, the greens at Highland are usually fantastic and difficult.
Right.
Some of the more difficult courses are greens that
they're fun to putt on, though.
That you'll play. So that's right. Hole number 8 at Highland is our Finger Lakes Dream 18 8th hole. So next week, 9th holes. Have any suggestions? Send them to contact@fingerlakes1.com. Subject line Finger Lakes Golfer. And we'd love to hear your suggestions for the best 9th hole in the Finger Lakes. I already know what I'm voting, unless somebody can convince me otherwise.
Really?
Yeah, we'll have to wait till next week to find out. But you will not have to wait a week to get another Zen Tip.
We got an intro?
A new in the new segment intro.
Nice.
It's our Zen Tip of the week.
Zen Tip of the week.
I love it. Perfect.
So for this week's Zen Tip, I actually broke out the Bible of Zen Golf, the book Zen Golf by Dr. Joseph Parent. It's a book I've read probably 8 times.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you a little story straight from the book. It's a story called from the segment. This book is made up of not only chapters, but actually it's not made up of chapters. It's made up of small little stories or segments, one after another. And that's what makes the book so digestible. You can sit down and read, for 5 minutes, or you can sit down and read for an hour. Somebody asked me, what's your favorite golf book of all time at Zen Golf? If they say, what's your favorite book of all time, period, it's Zen Golf.
Nice.
By Dr. Joseph Parent. So let's open this book to page 185, and let me tell you a little story about a farmer living in the outskirts of a little village. Long ago there was an old farmer living in the outskirts of a little village. He was quite poor, possessing only a small piece of land, a small house in which he lived with his only son and one horse. One day the horse broke out of the corral and ran away. The neighbors came over to console the farmer. They said, "Oh, that is terrible. You were poor before, but now you're destitute. What bad luck. This is the worst thing that could have happened." The old farmer shrugged his shoulders and gently said, "Who knows what's good and what's bad?" The farmer fixed the fence and left the gate open. The next day his horse came back and went right into the corral, followed by a whole herd of wild horses. The neighbors came over to congratulate him. They said, "Oh, this is so wonderful. You were the poorest man in the village, and now you're the richest. What good fortune. This is the best thing that could have happened." The old farmer shrugged his shoulders and again said, "Who knows what's good and what's bad?" The next day his son was working to tame the new wild horses. One of them bucked and he fell off, breaking his leg. The neighbors again came over. These neighbors are really nosy. Anything something goes down, they're over there.
They're living a little too close.
And they came over and said, "Oh, this is so terrible. Now your son is hurt. The horses can't be tamed, and you have no one to help you harvest your crop. What bad luck. This is the worst thing that could have happened." The old farmer shrugged his shoulders once again and said, "Who knows what's good and what's bad?" And then the next day, the king's army, apparently they lived in a kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
The next day, the king's army came through the countryside, taking all the able-bodied young men off to battle, where they were almost sure to die. But because the old farmer's leg was hurt, he wasn't taken along. So who knows, Bob, what's good and what's bad?
Right.
What does that have to do with golf?
I'm not sure. I haven't ran across many farmers playing golf.
The point, how this applies to golf is, you could be on the third hole of the day and you could shank one right into the woods. I've seen you do it. I've done it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And you could think, this is the worst thing that could have happened.
Mm-hmm.
My day's ruined. But honestly, who knows what's good or what's bad? If you take that attitude and just play on, you may knock a shot in you may make a hole-in-one later that day. Or you may go on to birdie 3 of the next holes. Things that you probably never would have done if that didn't first happen.
Right.
Conversely, you could roll in on your first 3 holes. You could roll in a 30-footer on 2 and a 40-footer on 3, and you could be, this is the best start ever. I can't miss today. I'm on fire. And then later that day, you lip a putt, you hit a ball that looks like it's going to be in good shape. It kicks dead left into a hazard. And who knows, Bob, what's good or what's bad? So you shouldn't judge the things that happen on the golf course as being good or bad necessarily. They just are things that happened. And at the end of the day, you're probably going to have as much good or bad happen to you through the course of your golfing. Probably more bad than good.
Right.
But the point is, don't sweat it. And this book makes use of or gives a couple examples. One, now this is the one I'll read to you. When Jack Nicklaus won his last Masters Championship in 1986, he had a short putt on the 12th hole for par, and it hit a spike mark, like we were talking earlier. It veered offline, giving him a bogey. Now that seemingly bad occurrence fired him up a little. He went on to shoot 30 on the back for 65 and recorded his 6th green jacket. So if that ball didn't hit the spike mark and went in, things just would have been different. He may not have even won the tournament.
Right.
But at the time, that seemed like, oh, that's bad luck.
Yeah.
It may have been good luck. That spike mark it obviously was.
Right.
Who cares?
Yeah. Maybe it would have fired him up and he might have not won.
Or just everything would have been different. You just don't know.
Yeah.
You just don't know.
Right.
But too often, I think on the golf course, we say to ourselves, oh, that's the worst thing that could have happened. Or, oh, man, that's awesome. That's the best thing that could have happened. Who knows what's good or bad?
Till you're done.
Yep, that's a Zen Tip of the week.
I like it.
And, well, that brings us about to the end of the show, Bob. A little short. Sometimes the Zen Tip of the week really sparks a little bit of discussion, but not this week apparently.
Oh, well.
Nice story though.
Yeah, I like it.
Almost a sermon.
Hey, perfect.
Hey, I want to remind listeners of our podcast that they can get one of the best putting aids going, the Point Practice Putter. And a special deal for viewers of the Finger Lakes Golfer podcast. You can save $30 off the retail price by going to getthepointgolf.com. And this is $30 off the putter or the putter and putting mat combo. You can go back to episode 5, I think, is where we had Kevin Smith on, and check out the device. But go to getthepointgolf.com, enter coupon code FingerLakes1 for the special discount. And really, one of the best putting aids that you can find, or golf training aids, period.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one man's opinion. But hey, Bob, I host a golf podcast, so does that make my opinion on things better than someone else that doesn't? Does it?
Yes. It makes you an expert.
That's all, yeah. Well, for more expert golf tips and advice, you're going to have to join us next Monday because we're about out of time. Come on, Rain, stay away.
I agree.
You know, we want to play some golf on Wednesday.
Get out of here.
There's tournaments coming up, and, you know, really the season is waning.
Yeah.
You know, we're already into August, a couple weeks removed from our club championship, and then it's September, which is a great month for golf. Don't get me wrong, but it's always the near the end. So,
right.
Any parting shots, my friend?
No, not this week. I was just looking forward to next week and see what happens.
And we'll be back then. You can count on it. So thanks to all you who hung out with us for the past hour for episode 8 of the Finger Lakes Golfer podcast. We'll be back next Monday night at 9 p.m. Until then, hit 'em long. Not often.
Support great local content like this by becoming a patron of FingerLakes1.com. Visit patreon.com/FL1.
FingerLakes1.com